Tonight we begin with breaking news from the Middle East, where tensions have once again erupted into open conflict as Israel launches a new offensive in Gaza, an operation that Israeli officials describe as both decisive and necessary, but one that Palestinian authorities and international observers warn is already producing devastating consequences for civilians on the ground. Reports from Gaza City and surrounding areas indicate a wave of heavy airstrikes, with the Israeli military stating their targets are militant strongholds and command centers, while Palestinian health officials counter that entire residential neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble, families displaced overnight, and casualties mounting rapidly, including women and children who had little warning before bombs fell. As explosions lit up the skyline, Gaza's already fragile infrastructure buckled further, with hospitals struggling under the weight of the wounded, doctors and nurses working by flashlight due to fuel shortages, and ambulances unable to navigate streets blocked by debris. Aid organizations warn of a worsening humanitarian crisis, describing scenes of overcrowded shelters, dwindling supplies of clean water and food, and families torn apart in a matter of hours, while communication blackouts make it difficult for the world to fully grasp the scale of destruction. In Israel, the government has defended the offensive as a direct response to recent rocket barges launched from Gaza, insisting that no country can tolerate constant threats to its population, with Prime Minister and defense officials vowing to continue operations until militant capabilities are degraded. A message that has rallied supporters across the political spectrum, but also drawn criticism from opposition figures and human rights advocates who question whether the scale of the strikes is proportionate or whether it risks fueling further cycles of violence. Internationally, reactions are divided, with the United States reaffirming its long-standing position that Israel has a right to defend itself, while simultaneously calling for civilian protections, whereas European leaders, the United Nations, and regional powers such as Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar are pressing urgently for an immediate ceasefire, fearing that continued escalation could destabilize the region further. Behind closed doors, diplomatic efforts are underway, but analysts note that the deep-rooted political divisions between Israel and Hamas, as well as the wider Palestinian leadership, leave little room for meaningful negotiations in the short term, suggesting that what lies ahead may be days or even weeks of sustained violence. Historically, Gaza has been the epicenter of repeated conflicts, with offensives in 2008, 2014, and beyond leaving behind lasting scars. And many fear that this current campaign could become yet another bloody chapter in a struggle that has endured for generations. Experts warn that the stakes are not only humanitarian but also geopolitical, with the risk of regional spillover involving Lebanon, Iran, and other neighboring states, potentially broadening the conflict beyond Gaza's borders. For now, civilians on both sides remain caught in the crossfire, Israeli families bracing for rocket sirens and rushing to shelters, Palestinian families searching desperately for safety where none seems to exist, and aid groups pleading for international intervention before the situation deteriorates further. As the hours pass, questions grow louder. How long will this offensive continue? How far will it expand? And will it lead to any resolution or simply perpetuate the cycle of violence that has defined this conflict for decades? The world watches with apprehension, waiting to see whether diplomacy can halt the destruction, or whether this moment will mark the beginning of another prolonged and devastating confrontation in the heart of the Middle East.